Hey everyone, a little figure drawing lesson here. If I only had 1 minute to draw this, here's what I would prioritize. I begin with the head as a kind of proportional measuring stick. Then I find a line of action that flows from the head all the way through the hips. On top of that, I rough in the biggest possible volumes. I look for any available ellipses, like here in the clothing, that can quickly indicate some three-dimensionality. Then I shift my focus to where things touch the floor. Notice here I am mapping out these positions with a kind of polygon on the floor. That helps guide me with perspective and proportion, which now allows me to continue gesturing in the flow of the figure. In this case, it's the left leg and the foot that's close to camera. Even in a gesture drawing, I'll throw in a cast shadow, because that shape is easy to draw and it reveals a lot about the perspective. From here, my time is almost up. I can squeeze in one last piece of information. In this case, I'll indicate the angle of the head a little more. And that's what I typically go for in a 1-minute drawing. That was real time, by the way. Alright, so let's say I had more time to do this drawing, which is typical of a life drawing or figure drawing session, where you have X amount of time per pose. My first minute would remain exactly the same. I do not slow down my gesture drawing. And this is a big part of learning how to draw, training yourself to notice the most important parts of a pose quickly, and getting only that down while eliminating everything else. Now, the everything else part of that equation is coming in now. Because I have more time, I can shift my focus to slightly more technical things. And for me, that is always shape and volume. My gesture drawing did not have any finished shapes. It did hint at shapes, just like it hinted at volume, but now is the time to begin refining those things. I feel like I'm increasing the resolution of the information I captured in the gesture. Like right here, for example. I'm drawing exactly where the center line of the form is. It wasn't my line of action. My line of action was never meant to contain form. But with the line of action there as a foundation, it's much easier to find where that form goes. As I work through the drawing, like I'm working through this arm here, I'm always very careful to plot out ellipses, specifically ellipses at the top and bottom of the form. The curvatures of those ellipses are dictated by the perspective. And that perspective was plotted out in the gesture phase. So once again, following that pattern where the gesture phase establishes information that helps you progress through the drawing. Notice I'm not fixated on any one area. I kind of bounce around. This is also made possible by an accurate gesture. If you find yourself in a pattern of having to fix proportions at this stage, I would consider that a sign that you have to go back and improve your gesture drawing. And I would not put my focus so much on fixing it here. If you're drawing from imagination, that's different, because then there's a much larger searching element to the process. But in traditional figure drawing, I have the reference in front of me, so my focus can be on plotting out accurate information. It's important to note that the phrase plotting out accurate information indicates a different thing than copying the reference. For example, just a second ago, I put this box into my drawing. That's obviously not something I see on the surface of the physical model, but it is three-dimensional information that very much is there, underpinning reality. If my interest was simply copying the photo reference, I most likely would have missed that piece of information, as well as many other bits of information like it, and as a result, the drawing would be far less useful to me in the long run. The reason to practice figure drawing is not to show people your beautiful figure drawings. It's to hone your ability to see the right information at the right time and get your skills to a level such that you can draw it. When a student comes to me saying they'd like to improve their drawing, the place I always start with that as a teacher is kind of vetting what they're looking for when and sorting that out first. From there, building the skills necessary to solve the different problems you have in a drawing. For example, drawing a gesture uses a different skill set than drawing volumes. It's possible to be very good at drawing volumes, but not good at all at drawing gestures, or vice versa. And this sounds self-evident, but I've always found it super useful to design your figure drawing study sessions so that they progress through different lengths of time. I remember we would do like 30 1-minute drawings, and then 10 2-minute drawings, and then 10 5-minute drawings, and then maybe end off the session with a few 10-minute drawings. In my life drawing practice, though, we would always go heavy on the short poses. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. We would always do much more of those than the longer studies. And of course, that has pros and cons. But one of the great benefits I got from that is the confidence that I could capture the elements of a pose, its weight, movement, balance, attitude, really all of the things that make the figure look alive. I find that those elements can be captured relatively quickly because they don't depend on detail. They don't even depend on form. Remember that this is what my drawing looked like in that first minute. It's those big sweeping decisions that really hold a lot of emotional content. And there's very little I can do at this stage of the drawing to add to the feel of the pose. For me, the life is either there or not early. What I can do at this stage of the drawing is add the more literal content, the form, the shapes, some anatomy if I need it, like that scapula right there. As far as line quality goes, my lines tend to get darker the more confident I am that this is the final shape for this time limit. Anyway, I spent another half a minute on this one. And this is the level of information I like to capture in 5 or 6 minutes. If I had even more time, I would get into more shape refinement and some shading, maybe in another video. For now, if you follow the link on the screen and head over to Marco Bucci Art Store, I've got this Digital Painter's Ultimate Bundle. It's 5 courses and a brush pack with an insane discount for a limited time. You can check it out at marcobucciartstore.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.